A regular guest here at Compass FM, Simon Templeton from Age Concern Canterbury. He's got a big job, a big area to cover, but he's still made time for us here at good old Compass FM. Good morning to you, Simon.
Good morning, John. Lovely to be here.
Great to see you back, and we've got a little bit to cover today. First and foremost, vaccinations. We've got the COVID vaccinations being rolled out, although it seems to be pretty slow, but also, of course, the flu season upon us.
Yeah, look, it's certainly vaccination season, and probably the first one to talk about perhaps is the COVID. And I thought it was a really good opportunity to talk to your listeners, particularly those over 65, about the vaccination, a bit about what to expect maybe when they might be getting it. And that, as you say, is potentially a bit of a moving feast. But certainly the information I have is that it should be May, which is just around the corner.
All right, that's for North Canterbury. So those aged over 65 specifically, are they a priority?
So they're over 65 are in Group 3. And so currently they're working through Group 2, which is sort of frontline health workers. And in fact, some of my staff have been offered that for those who are in real older person client-facing roles. So they'll be getting there soon.
Makes
so the
sense.
over 65s are in Group 3, and there's about 1.7 million in that group. So it's people over 65, disabled people, pregnant people, etc. Also important to look at are those underlying health conditions, so chronic respiratory conditions, diabetes, coronary heart conditions. So those people will be prioritised and, should get in first.
How does it happen, Simon? How will one know when one is ready to be vaccinated? Where do they go? What time? That sort of thing.
So that's the bit that's still a wee bit up in the air. So the ministry is saying May. Whether they get to that or not, we'll see. But we certainly hope they do, because from our perspective, the sooner all over 65s get vaccinated, the better. When we know they're protected. We've obviously today got the bubble opened up with Australia, and whilst they're managing that risk, and I'm confident, it is pretty low risk, it does still increase those chances, and the best way we can protect our over 65 is to get them vaccinated. So I've spoken to a few GPs, and they're really in the unknown bit at the moment. So at this stage, not advising that you ring your GP, because they just don't know. There'll be announcements from the Ministry of Health out soon around the hows and wheres, and GPs are one potential place you might be able to go, but they may also be doing bigger community clinics where people can just rock up to.
All right, so the water's a little muddy at this stage.
It certainly is.
But the sediment will clear, and we should have more detail around that closer to May.
Absolutely. And the key thing is, look, this vaccine is safe. There's been many, many, many millions of doses given around the world. I don't know whether it was good luck or good management, but actually when you look at all the other vaccines available, the government, I think, picked the winner, which is very fortunate for us, and we're all getting this one vaccine. And whilst it's a little bit more difficult for them to manage the process, and we have to have two from an efficacy perspective and a side effects perspective, we've got a very good vaccine here, and just strongly encourage everyone in New Zealand, and particularly those over 65, that when it's available, go and have it.
All right, and sounds like that's going to be sometime in May. In the meantime, flu season upon us, and vaccinations for that, Simon?
So they are out at the moment. So I've had some of my over 65-year-old staff members tell me they've got theirs booked in for next week, which is fantastic. The main thing around the flu vaccine this year in relation to COVID is you have to have them separated. So whichever one you have first, you then have to wait at least 2 weeks before you have the other one. So people need to weigh that up. I guess if you can get in, and this is where you can ring your GP, if you can get in for your flu vaccination sooner rather than later, you've then got that 2-week window, which is probably going to be further out than when the COVID vaccine's available anyway. So flu vaccines available now, and we'd encourage again everyone over 65. It's free, and it's a great way of protecting yourself and your family.
Totally. Now, the winter warmth payment, this is a great thing. I love it. I really do. My only slight bugbear is that I know lots of people over the age of 65 who receive it who quite simply don't need it. Would it not be better, and I'm just asking your opinion here, Simon, to perhaps instead of, to target it and therefore perhaps, double up the amount that people who really need it get, and those that don't need it don't get it.
That's certainly something I think that gets raised quite regularly, and that's around any sort of universal benefit, and including superannuation, in fact. So, some people obviously are multi-millionaires and probably don't need that pension check every fortnight. From the government's perspective, and this has obviously been successive governments, have pointed out that it is a universal allowance. It's not actually a benefit, and that the cost, I guess, to strip down who gets and who doesn't would effectively be the same. The other argument that I've heard them use is that for those who perhaps might not need it, that is extra money that they then might splash and put into the economy and go out for the extra meal or whatever, which helps the whole economy. So that's kind of the driving force behind why they do it. I wonder if in the future, as things become potentially more unaffordable, when we have more older people and things get tight, maybe it will be looked at that it's more means tested. But I certainly would agree with you. I think there are some people who are living in quite impoverished conditions that it's a great help to, but it would be a much better help if it was double.
Yeah, instead of that one person sitting over a one-bar heater and the person who's getting the super check and the heating subsidy, that person could have a 3-bar heater in every room, if you know what I mean.
Or even better, a heat pump.
Or a heat pump, of course. Simon Templeton from Age Concern with us, and I would also just like to ask you quickly, Simon, about your visiting service. So I do believe you need more visitors. You've got plenty of people who enjoy a visit, but not enough people to visit them.
Indeed. It's a bit of a swinging pendulum for us. We have more of one, less of the other from time to time. So it is something we're constantly asking people for, and out here in Waimakariri and North, to think if you've got an hour a week, that's what it takes. So the process is we will give you an interview and induct you into what's required. We then provide ongoing monthly support and training. And so you're not sort of just shunted into it. We give plenty of support for our volunteers. And then it's an hour a week for you to go and visit a lonely older person, generally in their home. And the purpose of that meeting is just purely a chat and a cuppa. There's no requirement to go shopping, do any jobs or tasks for the person. It really is just to socially connect. And it is a role that we hear through all of the volunteers at Age Concern is probably the most rewarding for our volunteers. It's something that they love to do, and they become very close with the person they go and visit, and a lot of them become very, very good friends.
Yeah, and they get to know their life story, and everyone's got a life story, and some of them are fascinating. Well, every life story is fascinating. So I would imagine it'd be a very pleasant experience to sit with an older person and hear their story, but at the same time, they're probably equally as interested in your story as well.
That's exactly right, John. And how we match these people, and I have staff who are very, very good at matching people, their interests and their likes and the sort. And we do make sure that it's mutually beneficial. So we know that the volunteer gets as much out of it as the lonely older person, and vice versa. And it is sharing each other's stories and just that friendship, just that chat.
And somebody who is listening now would like to be a volunteer, just get in touch with Age Concern.
Absolutely. Just give us a phone call, 3660903, and we'll put you through to one of the coordinators who can talk you through the process.
Great. Always good to see you, Simon. Simon Templeton from Age Concern Canterbury.